Love today's episode. So I know a lot of y'all collect baseball cards, and I admittedly do not know nearly enough about the hobby, and I wanted to fix that. So I called on an expert, Scott Greene, president of Prospects 1500, but better known as ScottyBallgameBreaks, one of the prominent breakers, to come on the show, explain the hobby to me. Let's talk about trading cards. Let's talk about the variety. Let's talk about some of the special stuff in there. And then we had a great conversation about valuation of prospects by the prospect apparatus versus valuation of a prospect's card and how they usually line up, but not every time. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As promised, we're finally having the big trading card episode. I know a lot of y'all collect trading cards. You track these guys, and part of the reason you listen to the show is because you want to know about the players that are on the cards you have. So I brought in one of the experts, Scott Greene, host of Scotty Ball Game Breaks, president of Prospects 1500. I felt like there's no better person to discuss the intersection of trading cards and prospects than you. So let me open with this. Kind of on the spot, a little impromptu. Favorite trading card that you have? What's your single favorite card?
I have a David Ortiz platinum. It's kind of like silver, but they call it platinum. It's a 1 of 1 serial numbered autograph. And it's not a sticker auto. It's actually autographed on the card. And I got it. Yeah, I think I got it in a trade like a few years back. I don't even remember, how much I might have sent to somebody, but it wasn't a whole heck of a lot. Someone wanted to get it in my hands because they knew I was a big Red Sox fan. That's probably one of my favorites. I do also have a really nice Marcelo Meyer sapphire autograph that I just pulled about a few weeks ago, and it's just amazing. It's red, serial numbered 5 out of 5, and wow. It's a pretty huge card. And you know what? It might be even bigger if I graded it, but I haven't done that, and I don't know that I'm going to do that. And we might get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, and that kind of okay. So as a lot of listeners know, if we've had the conversation, I don't know a ton about trading cards. Short of when I was a kid, I used to go and get cards, and the players that my favorite players, I'd keep the cards, and the ones that weren't, I'd use them for my bicycle wheel or something like that back in the 80s and 90s. So kind of like real briefly, does every player have baseball cards? Do most of the players, do the top prospects? How does it work as far as the availability of cards for each player?
It's a loaded question. So, I mean, it depends on the kind of card you want, the companies you like, the brands that you're purchasing. I'll try to make it as simple as I can. So for prospects, Topps is the licensed brand for baseball cards, and Topps's brand of Bowman. Bowman is the brand, and I'm using that word a lot, that does prospects. The first Bowman logoed card for any player is one of their most sought after cards. It's their first Bowman, has the logo on the card. And then they have paper versions of them. They have chrome versions. They have refractors, all different parallels. Now, the first Bowman for many players come in, there are 3 different series basically every year. Bowman has a flagship series they put out early in the year in like April. Then they have another series called Bowman Chrome that comes out, late summer, early fall. And then in December, late in the season, they have their draft product, which has the first cards of many of the players that were selected in the draft. So any one of those 3 series might have a player's first Bowman card. Those in the hobby are traditionally the cards that people will chase and they will want to have of those players. Now, if you look at some other brands like Panini, they are not licensed. Onyx is another company, not licensed, but they might have these cards of players before Bowman does. So I think I had a Miguel Blayes. He's a international prospect from the Red Sox.
Mhm.
from a couple years ago in Onyx, and he had some autographs. He was like 16, just signed. He didn't have a Bowman card until Bowman Chrome from this past summer of 2021. So sometimes there are other brands that will have cards before Top/Bowman does. It's all a matter of what you want, why you want it. Do you want cards that might sell for more? Do you want cards that look different? It's the hobby person's preference.
There you go. And quite quite a few places to go from that. But one of the things that you touched on was there's refractors, there's chromes. These are all different versions of the base card. For instance, there are different upgrades on the card where there's a foil, there's a hologram, some sort of additional thing added, and so that's typically more rare. How rarer are those cards than the standard issue card?
I would say the parallels, the short prints, the serial numbered, those are the cards that will hold more value.
Okay.
Whether you're just holding it for your PC personal collection or whether you're trying to sell, it depends on the product, because what you have to do is you look at the odds that are on the packs of cards in each product, and it might say that your refractor is one in every 52 packs, and that your purple parallel, which a lot of times with tops are numbered to 250, those might be one in every 164 packs. And then
Okay.
fast forward, you might have a one of one, that it's the ultimate parallel that people want to get. It might be a superfractor, might be a platinum if it's in a flagship product. Those might be one in every 12,522 packs. So
Very, very rare.
the parallels could be very rare and hard to pull depending on the serial number.
Yeah, and it's something where obviously these companies have chosen how often to do those and how frequently to do those. I know that the hobby exploded a lot during 2020. A lot of people had some disposable income. A lot of people were at home, and so a lot of these sales that were in person went online. From the trading card perspective, how did the cards that you were getting and you were seeing, how did those change on account of 2020? I mean, obviously we had a shorter draft, so we didn't have, there was no season. So I'm sure a lot of opportunities to photograph players and get autographs from players weren't there. So how did the cards you were seeing differ in that year and coming out of that?
During the pandemic, because the hobby quote unquote exploded, it was harder to get product.
Right.
Whether you're the average person that wanted to just walk into a Target or Walmart and buy a blaster box for $20 or $25, a lot of times those dried up because people were just grabbing them, and a lot of people flipped and tried to make money, during COVID. But it was harder and harder to get product. Someone walking into a store, someone like me who does some card breaks, group breaks. I stream them online at times. I have a hobby family of guys that we get into a lot of them together. I publish and fill spots through my social media as well. So oftentimes I will get cases of product, whether I'm going to do a case break or a half case break. And I have some resources that during 2020, 2021, their prices, they started getting gouged from distributors, getting less allocations. So it was harder for me to get things. So to answer your question, the cards that I was seeing, they didn't look any different. The numbers weren't different, although they started actually producing more, but it was harder to get. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, the supply went up, but the demand went up a lot more than the supply did.
Correct.
There's a lot of interesting parallels. I'm a bourbon guy, and when I hear talk about the allocation and the prices and the demand for it, there's a lot of parallels, it feels like, between trading cards and the bourbon market, especially when you get into some of the harder to find and rare bourbons and things like that. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Blue Nile. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. If you want to build the engagement ring of her dreams, Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. And then Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. If you're wanting to celebrate life special moments with fine jewelry, but you're having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. So, make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. We're talking to Scott Greene, host of ScottyBallgameBreaks, president of Prospects 1500. And what I want to know is, what is the ultimate, like the top of the line, I'm going to invest in this as a hobby, here's what I am going to do? Like, what's the first step you're going to do? Do you go out and try to find a whole case? Do you sign up for a break like you do? How does that work?
The first thing I'm going to do is tell you to not use the word invest.
Okay. Fair enough.
And because, I don't look at cards as commodities. It's a hobby for me. Other people, no. You've got other people that are investing, but this is just me. I don't grade cards a lot. I've graded cards twice in my life. Once for some personal cards that I just wanted to have them slabbed. Another time I actually pulled out 5 or 6 cards that I actually wanted to have protected, thought I might sell a few of them. And I know that if they got good grades, the values, I say, and some people get on my case for this, the values are artificially inflated when a card gets a good grade. It's the same card. Just because it's a PSA 10, does that mean it's a $2,000 card when I actually think it's a $500 card? I don't know. But if I'm selling, I'd like to have that grade. So anyway, I don't grade a lot. I don't sell a lot. But I just lost my train of thought on the question.
Yeah, like somebody wanting to get into the hobby, kind of what's the structure that look like?
Structure? So, what do you want to do? Do you want to build a set? Do you want to just get cards from your favorite team? Do you want to pick some of your favorite players? In our case, maybe some of your favorite prospects, and just start collecting their cards and get all different ones, their first Bowman and parallels and autographs and maybe some of when they first have their rookie cards. Rookie cards are different from first Bowman cards because the first Bowmans are when they're prospects. And then once they've reached the majors or they've debuted, then they're going to have their rookie card and have a rookie card logo on them. And all the companies do that, whether it's Topps, Bowman, Panini, they all have their own. Donruss, they have their rookie card logos. So, if I want to just invest, there, I'm using the word again, in a team, maybe I'll look around some breaks, maybe I'll, 2021 Bowman draft had Marcelo Myers first Bowman and then some other decent Red Sox cards. Maybe I'll look for a decent price on Red Sox in one of those breaks from somebody. But you know what? I really liked the look of the Topps Heritage brand, which is it's a takeoff on a previous year's design from right now. They're in the 70s. I really like the look of those cards. I want to build that set. So I might, if I buy a hobby box with 24 packs and I open the box and get 200 something cards, I'm going to get one relic or an autograph. I'm going to get a bunch of inserts. Not likely going to get the set. I might come 75% of the set, and that hobby box is going to be about $100. I could probably buy that base set complete for 30 to 40 bucks on eBay for someone that hand collated it. Maybe they bought a case and they put together a bunch of sets, and then they're selling these hand collated sets. So that might be a better way to go for someone who just wants to get a set. But sometimes it's more fun to actually buy the box, open the packs, be surprised if you get, a $3,000 autograph like I pulled from Meyer. But, it's totally up to the person on how you want to go about it.
It's It's the experience. I mean, you can go out and just pay the money to get the entire set, but sometimes you want the experience of opening the cards, sharing it with your kids, things like that.
Exactly.
If somebody wanted, knew that they wanted to go for their particular team and wanted to get involved in one of the breaks, obviously that's one of the big things that you do. Can you walk us through how a break works and, how you assign the slots and that whole structure, how that works?
I can tell you how I do it.
Okay.
It's not going to be similar for every other breaker, but
Right.
I'll give you just an example. So I have and there are different ways to do breaks. I do team and player auctions sometimes. Other times I'll just do, straight teams. So people will get all the cards from that team. It all depends how I want to set it up. Sometimes it's random, and people just get random teams. And then other times we actually do drafts. We randomize a draft order, and then people will go down in the draft order and select the team that they want. So you don't always get the team that you really want in a draft. But for example, let's say I buy a case of Topps, or let's stick with prospects. Let's say I buy a case of Bowman draft that's going to come out later in December. And by the way, the way these prices are these days, I mean, a case of Bowman draft might be $4,000, $4,500, $5,000. So I might not even get a case because I just can't afford it. But let's just say 2 years ago, when I could get a case of that for like $1,500, there are 8 jumbo boxes in each case. Jumbo box has 3 autographs guaranteed. So we know that there are going to be 24 first Bowman chrome autos in this case. So that's a draw. Mm-hmm. What I would do if I were doing, let's just say, random teams, I would take my cost of the case. I would add in all of the dollars that I think I would need to cover my supplies and shipping and my time. Yeah. So if 30 teams, I'm just spitballing a number out there. Let's just say it's $6 for shipping supplies. And then my, 30 times 680, let's just say I'm going to add $200 to my cost of the case. Let's say my cost of the case was $1,000. It's not, but let's just say for the sake of argument. So I'll take that $1,000, the $200 that I need for supplies, shipping, my time, and sorting. Sorting's a big part of it, especially when you're doing a case. So I would take $1,200, divide it by 30, and each spot is going to cost a person $40. And that's if we're doing evenly priced spots. In this case, that would probably be for random teams. Right. In another example, I have to do some research on what checklists and what teams have the better chance of getting, the better players, who has better cards on their checklist. There might be, there was one year, I think it was 2019 or 2020 Bowman draft where the Nationals didn't even have a player in the product. So I couldn't sell the National spot. It wouldn't be fair. The person's not going to get any cards. So, and if I was doing a pick your team break, in that case of a $1,200 all-in cost that I have to cover on my end, the best team could be $100, $120. And
based on supply and demand.
Yeah. Yes. Other teams might be 90, 85. And then some of the teams with the least attractive checklists and the least amount of opportunity to pull autographs or the best cards, they might be $20, $25. And so it varies on the type of break. So then what happens is they'll send in their payment. And a lot of these breakers, myself included, I'll accept PayPal, I'll accept Venmo. And once it's all paid for, we do the randomizations for teams, and I will set up a stream, and I will open the case and the boxes of cards on a live stream. I usually do it with Zoom because I like to have people involved and they can actually converse with me, and it's kind of cool. You will not see that from most breakers. Most breakers will just stream on YouTube and they talk to comments. And I know you can probably understand where you see comments and you can put them up on your videos in your podcast, but I don't like to just talk to comments. It's like I'm sitting here by myself. I like to be with the group.
Have the community.
I'll stream on Zoom. I will stream on YouTube as well, because not everyone wants to join Zoom. And then And then, and then we make it a fun experience. I'll have a drink. Sometimes we do drink them if you got them breaks. Sometimes they're late at night. Sometimes they're weekend afternoons. And then when we're done, I sort the cards and I ship them out to people. And people will get their team, or they'll get their players, or however the format it was set up.
I actually watched one about a month ago. It was about a 3-hour stream, and that's something where that was an entire case that you were breaking up.
It was.
The YouTube account, if you want it, Scotty_ballgame. You can go on YouTube. You can watch these replays. Some of them are, 4 hobby packs. It's 15 minutes long. Some of this one was a full case. It was 3 hours. So it's kind of cool that people can interact and can see how this works. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs, your favorite sports info, and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can get reviews and news for every league: Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, golf, and even esports. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, live in-game betting, scores, and more. And it's not just who is going to win the game. Thursday night is the Field of Dreams game, and they have all kinds of prop bets around the Field of Dream games. Total home runs, over under 5.5. Who is mentioned first, Ray Liotta or Kevin Costner? Which happens first, a clip of the movie or a home run? And will a home run not land in the cornfield? So, whether it's the game outcomes or fun props around the game, you can go to BetOnline today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. We're joined by Scott Greene. That was very loud thunder. I'm going to edit that out probably.
All right, very cool.
We're joined by Scott Greene, ScottyBallgame on Twitter, host of ScottyBallgameBreaks, president of Prospects 1500. When we talk about the Bowman draft set that comes out in the fall, that's the one with the prospects, the guys that just got drafted. And I do want to have a little bit of more in-depth conversation about how those cards are valued. I know that a lot of your collecting is for your personal collection versus selling and things like that. But I'm sure that you notice the values of prices fluctuate. And given your unique position as, running a prospect website and doing cards, do you see a correlation between the price of the cards of certain prospects and their performance on the farm systems? And as they rise up into the top 100 and become a top prospect, the card is worth more? Or are there some times where the value of a card isn't correlated with their real life performance?
That's a great question. I'll just look at, let's say 2020 and 2021, for example. In 2020, we had the first Bowman cards of Jason Dominguez of the Yankees. Has not debuted yet. He's in high A right now. And also is the first Bowman card for Bobby Witt Jr., who's already
Bobby Witt Jr. Yeah.
Already in the majors. So both of their cards were in, I don't know that it was draft. I think it was 2020 Bowman. It was the first series that they put out that year. So both of their cards were just immediately the two most sought after and most valued cards in that product. I would say now that more than 2 years later, we're a little over 2 years since those cards came out, Witt's values are probably steady with what they were or even more. Dominguez's performance, he hadn't even debuted as a rookie league guy when his card came out. He had been.
So it was all of the conversation and the comps about the next Mickey Mantle, that kind of. That's why we don't do comps on the show, folks.
All speculation.
Yeah.
And his card values were crazy. I pulled it was in the Bowman First Edition brand, which is something that they put out exclusively before their regular brand comes out. It's got a First Edition stamp on it. I had a couple paper, just base paper. They weren't even chrome or foil of Dominguez's first card. And I think within the first couple weeks, I sold it for like $90. And because of the hype.
Right.
And if it was my only card of him, I wouldn't have sold it, but I had duplicates. It might be a $5 card right now. It's just a base card. All right. So that's an example from those two players where you can see kind of where the value, I think Dominguez's values, they're still up there for his first cards and his autographs and low numbered parallels, certainly, but they aren't
Right.
what they were. And
They
then,
aren't the crazy high speculative prices back when
correct,
all we had were the unrealistic comparisons of what he was given versus the realistic look of now of probably where he is
correct,
going to be as a professional.
correct. And then last year in 2021 Bowman, I believe, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, two of the biggest names in their first Bowman cards were Austin Martin of the Blue Jays at the time, since been traded to Minnesota, and Blaze Jordan of the Red Sox, who was just in rookie league last year. So Jordan's doing well. I think today he was just promoted to high A. He's promoted to high A, and Austin Martin traded to the Twins, and he's in their system. I believe Double A, but hasn't made the majors yet. I don't think Martin's values are where they were. I don't think Jordan's values are where they were. It was like all this crazy hype for these two fairly big names when the product came out, and these are their first cards. It's also a lot of collectors just wanting to get the card so quickly and have it, where if you have patience in this hobby, you're going to do a lot better, I think. Although, and then some people will argue, heck, if I don't sell my crazy 5 of 5 Marcelo Meyer auto now, it's never going to be worth more. And 3 years from now, it might be worth half as much it is now. But, it's all part of, what are you collecting baseball trading cards for?
Understanding why you're here, why you're wanting to do this. And it is really interesting to kind of think about the values of the card versus how we see the player. And it's almost like the more information we have on the player, then typically the less variance you're going to see in the card. The most variance in the value is while we still don't know what the player is going to be. And because, like you said, it's speculation. It's all we have is they haven't played yet. They haven't debuted. It's speculation as to what they might be in the case of Jason Dominguez. And then if they pan out and if they're really good, like a Bobby Witt Jr., that card holds the value. So I can very much see the value of I'm going to wait and be patient and identify what I'm doing this for. Do I want my favorite player? Do I want my favorite team? Do I want this whole set? Because if you get into it very early, some of the prices are going to be, like you said, a little too high and they may come down later.
I have one more example.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention this guy, and I noticed this today. 2022 Bowman, we have the first Bowman card of Brewers prospect Jackson Churio. Coming into this year, he's a good prospect. He's a good name. Probably wasn't in the top 5 of the cards that people were trying to get in this product. But all of a sudden, he is making waves. He was named to the Futures game. More and more people in the prospect industry are talking about him. He's having a very successful season in the minor leagues. And today, when Baseball America drops their newly updated top 100 prospects, he lands at number 2 overall. Guess what card people are trying to sell all over Twitter and all over social media today and jacking up prices? Guess what? Jackson Churio of the Brewers. Is it all hype? It's a lot of hype right now. We'll see what he does in a couple years.
Yeah. It's something where, for the most part, it kind of correlates with the prospect apparatus, as I call it, and our valuations of these players and where we think they are. Baseball America obviously goes out there and re-rates, and all of a sudden the card shoots up in value. And I'm sure there's a few examples of, maybe guys who were traded. I think like an Esteury Ruiz. I'm not even sure if he had a card or not, but he's a guy who I imagine last year the card was probably a lot cheaper than it would be right now, especially if it's a card from before he was traded.
Exactly. So, I like Esteury Ruiz, and I actually bought his first Bowman auto, which was a 2019. I don't know if it was in 2019 Bowman or Bowman Chrome, but I got a decent deal on it. I think on COMC for somewhere around 25 or $30, just a few months ago, and he was having an amazing breakout season, and the card's probably doubled in price now.
Yeah, it's it seems like it's almost really hard to kind of keep track of by yourself, and it's something where you definitely need to kind of go to a professional to help you with the getting the cards through a break and things like that. If somebody wants to get involved in breaks and wants to kind of work with you on your next break, how can they reach out to you? How can they follow your breaks and do all that?
So the best way is to just follow me on Twitter. Most of the breaks that I do, I will post on Twitter, whether I will ask people to claim right in the thread, whether they want a spot, if it's just, if we're going to do a draft, or whether they want a team. I will post, if I do it priced out by teams, I'll have that listed so people can claim there. Sometimes, and I do have a website where I post a lot of my breaks as well. It's kind of a forum if you're used to message boards. I have this platform called Pro Boards, and my website is also a place where I list breaks sometimes. And then when I do list them there, I will, of course, drop the link on my social media so people are directed there. And that website is ScottyBallgameBreaks, all one word, SCOTTY, ballgamebreaks.proboards.com. But you can also see on my YouTube channel, as you said earlier, some of the previous breaks I've done, links to the site and my social media, mostly Twitter. I don't put any of my card stuff really on Facebook. There is a whole Facebook trading card community. I just have had more luck, more relationships, and just a better experience on Twitter. And I'm also out there on Instagram, but not much at all. And there is a whole community out there too.
So Twitter's where it's at. Again, folks, it's Scotty_ballgame on Twitter. Scott, thanks for being here. We really appreciate your time. And thank you for the knowledge. I want to have to get in on one of these breaks soon. And at this point, I love all prospects. I don't even care which team I get. I just want some cards and some players.
That sounds good. And if I can add one more thing, on prospects1500.com, I do have a couple guys that do write about the hobby. We do previews of new Bowman products and new other products for prospects when they're coming out. So that is also something to keep an eye on. And I really appreciate the chance to be on and talk with you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott.